So I want to nuance this to make this practical, and this may be jumping ahead a little bit, but we can sort this out here. Confidence, you said, is built by certainty and control. So when we have neither, what do we do?
So when we have neither, first of all, we're inherently anxious. So anxiety and stress arise from the fact that we don't have certainty and control in our lives, or some element of our lives, or something that matters in our lives. And the if I look at the way we talk about confidence, we say I have none, some, or too much. So I lack confidence, I am confident, I'm overconfident. And that's not right. When we have uncertainty and feelings of powerless, what we are is vulnerable. And the opposite of confident is vulnerable. When I'm not confident, I have a sense of vulnerability. And so that it's the vulnerability that's creating the anxiety that we feel. Something just doesn't feel right. We feel uncertain about what might happen. We don't know if we can do it. And that's the source of stress that people feel in their lives.
Okay. Well, I want to step back just a bit. I'd love to hear some of your backstory that ultimately led us to meeting today around this topic of confidence. You've got a remarkable story, and I'd love to hear more.
Sure. So I spent the first half of my life in financial services. And I have to say, I didn't observe very well what I write about in my book. I missed the forest for the trees. When I turned 45, my son said, "Dad, you're halfway to 90," which it is a life-changing moment. And so I started to look at what was happening at that point in the mortgage market and the housing market, and then what happened during the crisis, trying to figure out, well, why did we do these things? What was it about the way we felt that drove the choices we were making? And all of the arguments and excuses that I started to see about why the crisis happened just didn't hold truth to me. And ultimately, I concluded that it all came down to these feelings of certainty and control. And then it became, so why do they matter? How do they drive the choices that we make? And that's really where I've spent the last decade, is trying to connect the way we feel to what we do. Because it's not a clear pathway all the time. And so I looked at, how do we think? How do our preferences change? How do our stories change? And that begins to help to weave together why we do what we do.
Yeah, that's helpful. I want to go back to certainty and control. What is it? This might sound like a silly question to some, but what is it about certainty and control that are not only enlivening but empowering to us? Why do we hang our hats on certainty and control that generate confidence? Is there something that you learned, as a professor at William and Mary, et cetera? What is it about certainty and control,
Well,
specifically?
yeah, both of them are actionable. We can actually do something about them. If I work with coaches, and so it's if I'm a coach and a player comes to the sidelines because things aren't going well, and I say, "You don't look very confident out there," that's not a very useful framework for a conversation. On the other hand, if I say to that player, "What do you need to do to feel more in control when you're there?" Now, suddenly we can be talking about specifics. It forces the person involved to step back and say, "Okay, this is the source of my anxiety." We can do the same thing with uncertainty. I don't feel certain when these kinds of things happen. And so why they're so important to me is that in both cases, we can do something about them. We can take action in our lives when we don't have either certainty or control, or neither. And candidly, Christopher, we spend most of our lives in environments without one or both of those elements. So a lot of self-help books tell you, be confident and you'll be successful. I couldn't think of worse advice. Confidence comes from being successful. In order to be confident, you must demonstrate the ability to generate certainty and control in what you're doing. And it's only once you do that that you will feel confidence and a sense of success. We need to stop telling people that confidence is the precondition to all of these wonderful things in life. It's like, no. Confidence is the reward. And even more so, we need folks, particularly young people today, to get comfortable in environments where they have neither certainty nor control. Because if you can get comfortable in those environments, knowing that you will eventually find the certainty and control you're in search of, well, that's resilience. That's the ability to handle what's coming, good and bad, without being alarmed by it, without getting anxious by it.